The views and opinions expressed on the following program may not necessarily reflect the views of the staff, management, or board of Hope Media Group and KSBJ. It's what's happening around us, in our town, suburb, city, in our community. It's Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Hello and welcome to Community Beat, where we're keeping you tuned in to the topics that are impacting our local communities and helping them thrive. I'm your host, Kim Kasi McKee. And April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services invites you to take a stand against child abuse by bringing community awareness and by joining together to work toward the prevention of future child abuse. So I'm so honored that joining me today is Genesis Elizondo. She's the faith-based and community engagement specialist for Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. And she's going to tell us all about how we can get involved with a very special initiative. Hello, Genesis, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Tell us about your role and what that entails.
Sure. So I am one of 4 faith-based and community engagement specialists here in Region 6. And so Region 6 is considered Houston and all of Greater Houston, so the 13 counties. And so we say FBCE to shorten it. So as FBCE specialists, organizations, businesses, individuals, churches is a big population that we are able to work with and to build those relationships to build support and resources for our children and families. That's the ultimate goal.
The whole idea, Genesis, of child abuse can just be a difficult subject. But what a blessing to know that there's something that we as believers can do. But for starters, just kind of give us a picture of what child abuse is like.
In Harris County alone, in the year 2023, there were 5,903 confirmed victims of child abuse and 24 child fatalities due to abuse and neglect. And that's just Harris County alone. In Texas, there were a total of 58,210 confirmed victims of child abuse and 173 child fatalities due to abuse and neglect.
Wow. Yes. Every day we look at the news and we see such heartbreaking things that are happening with our children. But we also have to be grateful that there are places, there are organizations in place that's why they are there, to help, to identify these cases and then have viable life-saving measures to help these children to go on and lead productive lives. What is one of those ways that churches can do something? Because sometimes when you see a big problem, it can be overwhelming and it's easy to think, so what can I be a part of? What difference can I make?
So one way churches can become involved is by, one, just being open to the idea of talking about things like child abuse, because it does happen and it can even happen in church, whether
Absolutely.
It's a child harming another child. And it could be also if there's an adult who's harming children, the church needs to be aware and know what to do.
That's right.
So just being open to that discussion and even allowing their congregations or staff to be educated. I know faith-based and community engagement specialists like me would be more than happy to go and talk to churches, organizations, anyone who wants to know about what DFPS's role, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Child Protective Services role, and what are signs to look for abuse and neglect, and how to make a report and what to expect when you make that call.
That's great, because I was about to ask you, what can a person do if, just say, a youth Sunday school teacher, a child comes up to them and tells them something that they're going through that to that teacher sounds like a red flag. The next call they can make, would that be to the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services?
So yes, here in Texas, everyone is what's called mandated reporters, meaning that if we witness abuse or neglect of a child or even an elderly person or disabled, we are mandated and supposed to call in a report. And that number is 1-800-252-5685. 5400. That is a Texas DFPS abuse hotline. And so if someone tells you something, that's also another way. Maybe you didn't witness it, but a child is making an outcry to you. So if it's something that you're concerned that's abuse, then definitely please make the call to the 1-800 number. And I would like to say, we want to educate people. And so part of the presentations that we do for reporting abuse is you don't want to investigate. Okay. So we're not asking you to ask all the questions. What happened? Who was there? Let me start my own case. However, we do want you to ask questions. Let me give an example. You could say a child said they're scared to go home. So let me call it in. They're scared. Okay. Well, when it comes down to it in that example, there's an example that the child said they were scared to go home because their neighbor got a new pit bull and they were afraid of the pit bull.
Oh, I see.
So we don't
just assume.
Exactly.
Okay.
But not to say that you shouldn't report things, just kind of be cautious and be aware. So maybe just ask, okay, why are you scared? And if they make that outcry, then yes, please call it in. And you don't have to continue asking everything and all the details. Mm-hmm. But if they make an outcry that a caregiver or parent is abusing them or hurting them, then yes, please make that call.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking with Genesis Elizondo. Genesis works as the faith-based and community engagement specialist for Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. And it's all about child abuse prevention is what she and her team are all about. And so, Genesis, do I understand that you and members of your team can actually go to churches to talk about things to look for, if child abuse is suspected, all kinds of information and resources?
Most definitely. That's part of our job description, and we're really happy to do it. And I unfortunately feel like I've been asked by very few churches, but some churches do when they have their training and development with their staff or with their volunteers. They may ask us to come, but I'm definitely asked more by organizations and businesses who work with children that want to know more about that.
Well, after today, I'm going to ask you to talk to our leadership team.
Yes.
It's very, very important. So thank you for letting us know that service is available. And I would imagine via Zoom as well as on site.
We can do Zoom. We prefer Teams only because that's what our tablets are. But we can do Zoom and in person, of course, whatever you guys prefer.
Awesome. There are two big initiatives that we have talked with you about in the past. And if you will tell us the difference in the two, just in case someone had heard the first interview we've done.
Yes. So Blue Sunday is in April, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And so Blue Sunday is about praying for children who are abused. And so Stand Sunday is something separate, and Stand Sunday is in November, and that is about praying and supporting children who are in the foster care system.
Okay, got you. So the main difference, Stand Sunday, children who are in foster care. Blue Sunday, praying for children who are actually being abused. Why blue? Is there some significance even in that?
Bruising and bruises sometimes get blue.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, well, talk to us about this initiative that's happening in April that's known as Blue Sunday. What are the details about it, and how can churches connect with it and be a part of it?
So, like you mentioned, April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. So the last Sunday in every April is going to be Blue Sunday. And so this year it'll be April 28th. And so it's the designated day nationally recognized for churches to pray for children who are abused, have been abused, and also for those who are caring for them, because it can be a lot for someone to even just know about this, and it can be really painful. And so pray for these families, these children. And so just a quick backstory about it. Please. So Blue Sunday started in 1994 in South Texas. There was a couple who was caring for their grandchildren because the parents of the children were suffering and struggling with substance abuse issues. Okay. Both parents. So the grandparents stepped in and cared for them, and they had an open Child Protective Services case, which involves going to the court system, going to court, and hearing when you're in court, you may hear other cases that are going on. And so the grandparents were heartbroken, not only for what their grandchildren had to go through, but they were heartbroken to hear stories about other children in the courtroom. It was devastating to them. And so they felt the need, they felt moved. We need to do something about this. Like, we need to pray. And so it started with, back in 1994, they involved 20 local churches, asked them to join together and pray. And that was South Texas. So now here we are in 2024, that there are thousands of churches involved with this in the United States of America and in 2 other continents as well, that want to take that stand against child abuse and unite together as God's children to pray for these children who are abused and who are vulnerable.
Wow, that is amazing that this started in 1994 with 20 local churches, and now there are thousands of churches on 2 continents, plus the United States, that are praying. That has to be making a huge difference.
Most definitely. And a way churches can sign up or just find more information is by visiting the website, which is bluesunday.org. And there's excellent resources, videos, and information, educational information on that website. And also, they even have the slides, presentation slides, in case any churches want to have that as a background during services, or businesses, anyone who wants to participate. But yeah, that website's really helpful. It's bluesunday.org.
So throughout the month of April, there seems to be some various initiatives that are taking place related to Blue Sunday. Talk to us about some of those. What does that look like throughout the month of April?
Yes. So for Child Abuse Prevention Month in April, we have a couple of things. And so one of them is Blue Ribbon Week, that we ask organizations, whether that be a school, a church, a business, to participate in. And it's the first week of April, which is April 1st through the 5th. Monday, April 1st is Stand Together Against Child Abuse. And so twins, dress like a friend as you stand together.
Oh, that's great.
And Tuesday, April 2nd is Don't Turn Your Back on Child Abuse. Wear your clothes backwards. So just little fun activities. Wednesday, Shine a Light on Child Abuse. Wear bright neon colors. Thursday, Wake Up to Child Abuse, Pajama Day. And Friday, Go Blue Day. So wear as much blue as you can. And then we also encourage for anyone and individuals, organizations, take pictures, take a selfie and post it online to hashtag Go Blue. And DFPS does like to take some of those photos and show them off. But yes, and Friday, April 5th is specifically what we call Go Blue Day. And that's when you can wear blue. We even ask businesses, if you have, or even a house, you want to put blue lights outside your house. And if people ask you why, then you can let them know it's because it's child abuse prevention. Or if there's any businesses who have those, who are willing to do that, we would be really appreciative.
For Blue Ribbon Week, there's literally something different that can be done every single day.
Yes.
Starting with Monday through Friday. And where can people go? It looks like now on the flyer, actually, there's a scan code. But where can people go to find out more about these initiatives?
They can go to www.dfps.texas, the word spelled out TEXAS.gov, G-O-V, and there is information for Blue Ribbon Week, for Go Blue. And if you don't see it, you can even just type it in the search bar and it'll come up.
So Genesis, what are some other ways that churches can get involved? Obviously, Blue Ribbon Week, a wonderful tie-in to Blue Sunday, giving opportunities for people to, throughout an entire week. So it's not just a Sunday, but for an entire week, can raise awareness for Child Abuse Prevention Month. But then there are some other things that churches can do as well. Tell us what some of those ways look like.
Prayer is going to be the number one thing for Blue Sunday for April 28th. Just please pray for this population. Pray for the children who are being abused, for their physical, for their mental and emotional healing, and pray for their safety. And for the ones that they're placed with, that they have the guidance, the energy, and everything they need to raise them and keep them safe. And just to give them hope, not just for these children, but for the families, for everyone involved, even for the parents. Just hope for the future. And the goal is we want churches and community both to unite together and just wrap around these families, because if the more support there is, the less likely there is going to be abuse or neglect. And so another way that churches can become involved is by utilizing something called Care Portal. That's here. It's out in Texas. And I know they're wanting to get it in more places in Texas. But Care Portal is an electronic tool that connects churches and businesses to the children and families in the child welfare system. So let's just say a CPS caseworker has an open case. They're working with the family and they see that they have a need. For example, maybe the children need clothing and the baby needs Pampers. So they can go online, submit in Care Portal what the need is, and then it goes to the churches in that specific zip code that are signed on for it. And
Wow.
so the churches will get alerted through email of the need that's in that area. And it's up to the church on how to respond or if they even want to respond. But the more churches on board, the more likely the need will be met. So we're definitely trying to increase the number of churches that are involved in Care Portal because we want our families to get help and support. And so for one, it gives churches the opportunity to meet a physical need, right? However, there's also ministry opportunity because it gives churches the opportunity to meet these families, to offer, to pray for them, and just to be support. I know there are stories of some of these Care Portal responding teams making really good connections with these families and having friendships even after the case is closed, and just really positive. And we want to have that positive impact in their lives.
I love that, the idea of a Care Portal, because it's like you guys you're doing the work on the back end where these needs are actually put into this system, and it helps to facilitate, to bring the church in contact with this family, either directly or indirectly. They're able to help meet needs. So where does the church go to connect with Care Portal?
They can go to the website, which is careportal.org. Okay. And also I can provide my phone number, which is 737-249-8177. And you can feel free to call or text me to that number. I would be more than happy to connect you with our local Care Portal staff here in Region 6, who are Pastor Terrence Campbell and also Star Williams. They are amazing advocates and are heavily involved with Care Portal here, and they're in charge of it here in this area.
So Genesis, I can imagine in the time that you have been serving in your capacity as a church engagement, as the faith-based and community engagement specialist, you have become aware of success stories. Can you tell us about a success story you've seen?
Yeah, so recently Care Portal showed us this amazing video of a success story. And it was this woman who had 4 children, and she moved here from out of state because her oldest child was in a car accident and was paralyzed from the neck down. And so she came here needing basically everything.
Yes.
And so someone noticed at school, like, this child seems distracted. They're always tired. Turns out they were sleeping on the floor. And so that one concerned staff member put in a Care Portal request. And so with that Care Portal request, there was so many needs that were there. Like, I mean, they needed everything: beds, clothing for school, right? You name it. And so multiple organizations, I know Isaiah 117 in Brazoria County was one of them.
I'm familiar with them.
Multiple churches, Modern Acts, joined together, and they not only provided the needs, but the mom was just talking about how happy she was. Like, she named these people and she has a personal relationship with them. And she says, when we go to the hospital, they feed my kids, they call me and they check on me. So it's not just about meeting that physical need, even though it's a really big part of it, but it's that mom having not so much family, but community, just feeling that support like family. And so it changed. It meant everything to her and her children. And I know everybody who was a part of it was very blessed by it.
Wow, that is beautiful. So what I hear you saying is that one organization or one church isn't necessarily responsible for meeting the entire need, because what I'm hearing is a collaborative.
That is correct. And that can be for anything that comes in, even if it's something small, saying we need Pampers. Okay, so one church may see it first and said, we'll get 2 packs. And another might say, oh, I want to get 2 packs too, or whatever the need is. It doesn't have to just be one church. And one church in particular doesn't need to respond to every request. You know, they choose how many they're going to respond to. But yeah, it's a lot of times it's a collaborative effort.
That is awesome. Well, we've been speaking with Genesis Elizondo about something that is called Blue Sunday, in honor of April's being National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And there are things that churches can do to raise awareness for child abuse. For one thing, praying on Blue Sunday, and that actual date. Tell us again the date that you're asking the churches to pray.
It will be Sunday, April 28th.
Awesome. And they can, if they choose to, they can wear blue.
Yes.
On that day. Or you can be connected during the entire, there's a week of activity, April the 1st through the 5th. And Genesis, if you'll just kind of run through that again, those different, what they can do on these different days?
Sure thing. So for Blue Ribbon Week, Monday, April 1st is Stand Together Against Child Abuse. That's the theme. And so have Twin Dress-Alike Day for standing together. Tuesday, April 2nd, Don't Turn Your Back on Child Abuse. And for that theme, it's Wear Your Clothes Backwards. And Wednesday, April 3rd, Shine a Light on Child Abuse. So wear bright and neon clothing for that day. Thursday, April 4th, Wake Up to Child Abuse, Pajama Day. And Friday, April 5th is Go Blue Day. So wear as much blue as possible. And I'm even asking, take a selfie and post it on social media and hashtag Go Blue. And if someone asks you what's that about, you can let them know that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Awesome. And tell us that website again for Blue Sunday.
It is bluesunday.org.
That's easy enough. bluesunday.org. Thank you so much for joining us and making us aware of Blue Sunday that's coming up. There's lots of time for churches to find out more information and strategize for things that they can do, not the least of which you can actually have Genesis or one of her colleagues either come to your church or speak to your team about things to look for to make sure that a child is not being abused, and then how to respond, because sometimes people just don't know what to do. And so, Genesis, if you will, let folks know how they can reach you.
Yes. And so thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure and an honor. And I would love to speak with anyone who wants to know more about Blue Sunday or about how to get involved, if they just want information in general. Please contact me at 737-249-8177.
Okay. Give that number one more time.
Sure. 737-249-8177.
Awesome. All right. And again, churches, to find out more about Blue Sunday, you can go to bluesunday.org. We know that there are many children who are hurting, and whatever we can do to help prevent child abuse or to raise awareness for where it is happening, we want to do that, especially by praying. That is, sometimes people, Genesis, will feel like, all I can do is pray. Well, if that's all you can do, that is something extremely important and foundational for anything else. So again, we're grateful for the work that the faith-based and community engagement specialists are doing to stay engaged with our churches and our community organizations to make sure that our children are loved and taken care of in the way that God intends. So thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you'll tune in again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Thanks for joining us for Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee. Join us every Saturday morning at 5:30 on 89.3 KSBJ.